everyone. It's Two Guys and a Mic. We're finally back with a brand new episode. I've lost track. I think it's 25, might be 26. Jim Ryan with Mark Rizzo, and we have a special guest here. But before we introduce the guest, Mark, we've had some big news since we last did this. We're now in a lot of places besides YouTube.
Yeah, well, we ended up spreading our wings, as they say, and now we're on several.
Yeah, let me run down this list for you. Ready? Spotify, sure, Pandora, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Amazon. Where you can find Two Guys and a Mic with the number 2. You can find us on all of that, plus YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new episodes.
It's literally exploding. I mean, we're getting corporate deals. I had a call from a company called Nuts and Butts.
Okay, you work that out.
No, it's not what you think. It's a confectionery. They sell candy. They got nuts and they sell cigarettes too.
See what I deal with? Here's our guest for this week, Mr. Tom Cunningham, everybody.
TC. My dog's even excited. Look at that.
Can I leave now?
No, 4 hours, Cunningham. 4 hours. Hold on, let me let the dog out. Talk among yourselves.
This is like it's not quite as much as Joe Rogan. He always has the dog in there.
Well, my dog, I'm sure, will be here at some point. So
okay.
I look forward to my pal Shelby showing up here at some point.
It's not fun. It's not a problem when the dog shows up. It's a problem when his dog starts snoring while we're talking.
Oh, we've had that, yeah, and we got a lot of views on that one. I think we just put the dog on the webcam and get a lot more viewers. I don't know.
that shows the extent of the power of you guys. You put the dog
more platforms. Okay,
yes.
That's all I'm gonna say. Now we got sponsorships. And before we get into it, we're very big in South Korea. I've told Jim that. I got a lot of fan mail from there. Apparently, they got a lot of Korean brides that are interested in coming here. I get a lot of emails about that.
So, Tom,
this is my favorite podcast ever.
Welcome to the craziness that is Two Guys and a Mic. Please do a real good, thorough, somewhat quick rundown of your career.
Well, first of all, I see two guys and two mics.
Here we go. Everybody says the same thing. Everybody.
I want to go on the record. As having said that.
Okay.
So
I think you're the fourth person who said that. Even Rick Springfield said that.
Yeah.
Hey, great minds.
We'll have to get our merch. Two guys. I see two guys and two mics. That should be the merch.
So I went to the University of Dayton. I got there in 1974. Lovely.
A flyer, huh? You're a flyer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the great radio programs in the country there. At the time, the school owned a 50,000 watt commercial radio station that students worked at.
Wow.
So, there was a carrier current station that went into 3 dorms in the student union. And I had started, when I got there as a freshman, I started writing music reviews and concert reviews for the school newspaper. And in the back of my mind, I had always had thought, is it possible to be on the radio? It seemed like a very untenable idea. Who gets up to be on the radio? And, it's one of those things that you can't say it out loud. I want to be on the radio. So, with that set up, when I figured out the landscape, I went and started on the carrier current station, rocking 3 dorms in the student union, and did everything I could, taking radio classes, and kind of segued out of the journalism idea to go all in on the radio thing. And then in late fall, winter 76, got a job at the 50,000 watt freeform AOR college radio station. That was an R&R reporter, by the way.
Which is amazing because most college radio stations don't have that kind of power.
It was a commercial station.
Yeah.
And the jocks were all students, and it was very competitive. And I started out doing features, this program called Grapevine. You heard it on the grapevine. And then ended up doing middays, relatively quickly, I guess like in early 77. And that was my entree.
Nice.
the people that I went to school with, I mean, Michael McConnell, who's still a huge, WLW Cincinnati guy. This guy by the name of Dan Pugh did his first ever sportscast when I was doing weekends, and he turned out to be Dan Patrick and had him a really good career. So Buzz Knight, who
Oh, I knew Buzz Knight.
yeah, I mean, graduated with him. Dave Luzak just retired in Milwaukee. Dave Cruisenclaws, guy still in the air in Lexington. So I was with some really high quality young broadcasters.
I mean, Dan Patrick's been in Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So when you graduated, where was your first professional post-graduation gig?
Well, we were asked to stay on, which was pretty interesting. But then they sold the station.
Oh.
The school sold the station.
That never happens.
I've been through that a couple times.
It changed to religion down the line. I don't know. But I was desperate to get out of Dayton, Ohio. No offense to anyone in the Gem City, but I needed to be back in Jersey. So, my girlfriend was here and the Atlantic Ocean was there. So I applied. I sent Tom Taylor at WPST a tape, and he said, start this weekend. He goes, I need somebody. So that was in December of '79.
Wow.
Okay.
And that I started at PST in '79.
And just like that, you send a guy a tape and get a job at a big radio station in New Jersey.
I was good.
You were good, damn it.
And back then, it was if you had some experience, it was stations were fully staffed around the clock, so there was more opportunity for sure.
True.
Well, I started out as the weekend overnight guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've all been there.
It was awesome.
How long did you work there altogether?
10 years.
And then you segued into records?
Life of crime.
Life of crime.
Life of crime.
I went to work at Friday Morning Quarterback.
Cal Rudman in the group.
Cal Rudman. Cal, every Wednesday night, I would do a thing with Cal called Cal's Comments, where he would come on and hit you with all the big news that, what happened in the week that had just, and he had, access to everything. And we would play 3 new songs that I got to pick. And,
Nice.
And Cherry Hill was just right there. So,
Yeah.
And I had figured out at that point, I had screwed up this job thing that, like in the late 80s, the KQ job was open. And I had a couple people come to me about, hey, you need to talk to this person and this would be good for you. And Mrs. Cunningham was not so hot on the idea of moving to Omaha, Nebraska.
And there's still a reporter that's still out there.
Well, right. And the guys who, after I flubbed that around, and the guys who came through there after, who had gotten that job and worked there later were, the guy who worked at Kiss FM for a million years, John Ivey.
Yeah.
He was there, and a bunch of other real quality programmers figured out that maybe working in Omaha is not so bad at this great radio station. So kind of fumbled that. And then later on, in 88, I can remember it clearly. I'm not going to say the call letters, but these guys came to talk to me about the job, but I wasn't aligned with the right independent record promoter to get that job.
Okay.
And it kind of soured me on the idea of it and of moving around all over the place. So I figured, all right, I can go to work for Cal, make some better dough, stay in Jersey. And then become a record company promotion
There
executive.
you go. That's
And
the
that's
real crime. I mean, that's where the good times
Well,
are.
I said a life of crime. I mean, I did it in increments. Unlike you, who just jumped in with both feet.
I can't get out either. I'm still in.
It's two guys at a mic. We're talking to Tom Cunningham, radio label exec, back now in radio as well. Don't forget to like us, subscribe. It is free to do so, and you'll find us on YouTube. But now you'll find us a lot of places: Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Amazon. Anywhere you get your podcast, you'll find two guys in a mic with the the number 2. So Tom, you go to work for the labels. What's the first label after you leave FMQB?
It was the greatest job I ever had. Jobs like this don't exist anymore. I was the local Philly guy for Reprise Records.
Wow.
And what year was this?
92.
Oh, then I bet you we crossed paths at Y100 once or twice, because I got to Y100 93.
Yeah, must have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right there in media down on Baltimore Pike.
Yeah.
The old dentist office.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the stuff that we had was, obviously your Eric Claptons, your Neil Youngs, but then came Green Day's Dookie,
Yeah.
came Alanis Morissette, Eric Clapton's Unplugged, and just on and on and on. I mean, what are the Morrissey and Belly and all these, young up and coming alternative bands. So it was great. And because these were actually local promotion jobs, I went as far as like Harrisburg and Atlantic City and, the Philly station.
You could be home.
Yeah. And it was freaking awesome.
Now, didn't you go to LA for a while?
Yeah, he did.
Sadly, yes.
He's like you, Jim. Not a fan of LA, I guess, huh?
They had the
Great place to
idea.
visit. Don't want to live there.
Yeah, they had the bright idea that I should be promoted to national top 40 promotion guy.
Okay.
And invited me to move to LA and work out of the Burbank office. Now, you guys have probably seen the Warner lot from Burbank there. I mean, freaking Sammy and Frank and Dino. I mean, that, and Mo Austin was there and Russ Tyrett. And, it was just an incredible experience to be around those people. Lenny Warnaker, my goodness. And just the thought of being in that office. But I hated it nonetheless. I mean, I hated every second of living in Los Angeles.
Okay, wait, stop right there, because this is a debate Jim and I always have. What exactly did you hate? The traffic, the people, the culture, the food, everything?
Food was all right, but everything else you mentioned sucked. It just wasn't me. I
remember Tom telling me he had it down to the number of days and hours he was actually there.
Yes.
Wow. So what happened? I mean, like, you had a deal for a couple of years and you figured at the end of that, no matter what, I'm out of here?
No. My dear friend Bob Divney, who was
Bob.
Great Bob Divney was our DC local rep, and he was getting promoted to be national alternative guy. He knew how much I hated it out there, and he said, "You know what? I'll take the job, but I'm gonna work out of the New York office." We had no one. Reprise at that point had no one in New York City, which was not a good thing. And so when they said Divney could work out of the New York office, I was like, I will work out of the New York office, because we need a top 40 presence on the East Coast in the New York office, and that should be me. And at that point they were sick of hearing my whining and bullshit, and they were like, just go.
Let them go. Yeah.
And how long did that last in New York?
I left there in 99.
All right, so you had a pretty decent run. That was good.
Yeah. Obviously labels make changes. When Mark Ratner got bounced, I was not a big fan of that move. The person they brought in to replace Mark, and we didn't get along, me and that person.
I'd have
And
to do my research. I think I know who that is.
yes, not, I will not go there out of fairness. And Joe Riccatelli came along. Joe Riccatelli had gotten wind that, I was on the ropes there and not in a good situation. So Joe was running Jive at the time. And Joe called and he said, look, I'm going to open up an adult promotion department. And, why don't you come here and head that up for me? And that was awesome. And my interview with Joe, he says, I'm going to play a song for you. And after you hear the song, you tell me if you want to come to work here. On a cassette, puts the cassette in, pushes play. It's in Sync's Bye, Bye, Bye. And I said, when can I start?
Nice.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. Well,
nice.
And that's when Jive was on 25th Street between 6th and 7th. And I'd be walking to work there on these bitter cold days, and I'd look up, and here come Mark Rizzo trudging on the Capitol. So we would pass each other on the streets of New York City.
Yeah. But I do want to compliment the fact that you have transitioned yourself quite a bit since those days. Yeah. If I can say so. You were a little bit heavier, and now you're slimmer than slim and looking good and healthier. And that's a big plus. So for that, you should be awarded and accredited, because it's not easy what people have to do when they have to really get themselves healthy and lose weight. And, it's a struggle. So, and
Tom spends a lot of time in the pool.
That's what
swims an hour a day, right? It's an hour?
It's 50 laps every day.
Wow.
And I just came back from my swim. So nice. Thank you. That's very kind, Mark. Thank you.
Well, I mean, anytime people have personal accomplishments and they have the willpower to do something, I find that very admirable, because I have like no willpower and probably can't will myself to do anything. But when somebody stops drinking, or they have these, smoking is a big thing. I know people have gone through, such battles to stop smoking. And when they finally do, my dad had what he thought was a heart attack, and he put the cigarettes down and never touched them again. But you hopefully never want to get to that point where something like that, makes you say you have to do that. But I do want to touch on the fact, and this is why I love you the most. You are the number one, and I will say it, authority on Bruce Springsteen. And I tell you that all the time. I hear other hosts on other outlets, and I won't name their names, but they don't hold a candle to you. And I read what you write, and I read all the shows that you put together. And, my relationship with Manilow, I know all the songs and stuff. How you can make it fresh with this. I mean, I know Bruce has got such an extensive catalog, but it's just amazing. And you talk about shows and dates that you saw him, and I forgot what I did yesterday. I guess you document all this stuff, and you know when you saw Bruce and what shows and songs and playlists, and it's incredible.
So I've been doing the all Bruce Springsteen show I'm now in year 22.
How did that start? Somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, we know you're a fan of Bruce."
No, I'll tell you, this is great, and I'm going to embarrass one of my dear pals right now. So when I moved back to work in New York, of course we moved to the Jersey Shore, and I was riding New Jersey Transit for a hellish 20 years. But for the beginning of it, Bob Catania and we were commuter buddies, which was great. And Andy Allen would be commuting then. Rich Robinson, who's still at 90.5 The Night at the Shore, AAA station. He was working in the city then. So there were a bunch of people living at the Shore who would go into the city. So I get it into my head that, you hear all these Beatles shows, Sunday morning Beatles shows. There should be a Bruce Springsteen station at the Jersey Shore. Stations at the Jersey Shore. So my buddy Race Taylor, who in my humble opinion is the greatest disc jockey in America right now, CBS FM. He was at PLJ at the time. I say, Race, can we go into the production room when you get off the air and I can knock out a demo tape? And so I do that. I send it to the aforementioned 90.5 The Night. And the GM guy says, you sound okay, but no one would listen to this show. Yes,
Genius.
I see no whatever for the show.
He didn't think people would listen to Bruce in Jersey
On the shore.
on the
It's
show.
the Jersey Shore. So I was frustrated. So then Nassau Broadcasting signs on a brand new classic rock station. And I'm like, PST owned by Nassau Broadcasting. I knew all the players, most of the players, but I knew all the upper
When
level.
you were there.
So I send they sign on this new classic rock station, WCHR FM, 105.7 The Hawk. I'm like, fucking no brainer. So Michelle Stevens, okay, was the VP of programming at the time. Michelle was my intern at PST.
Wow.
When her internship ended, I gave her her first full-time job in radio. Send her the tape. She said, no.
I'm sorry? She said no?
No.
Oh my God.
In deference to the program director, who didn't think it was a smart idea. So I was like, this is just, I'm cooked. My idea is cooked. And a couple year later, whatever, they sell the station to Millennium. And they hire Phil Licasio to be the program director. My dear friend Steve Trevelise was doing weekends there, and he says to Trev, do you know anybody you think could do a good Bruce Springsteen show for us?
Come on.
Oh, wow.
He says, do I have a guy for you?
Do I have a guy for you?
Overnighted the thing to Phil and literally started the next Sunday.
Perfect.
And that was in 2003.
Wow.
So
So wait, I have to do the new math here to figure that out.
Yeah,
Carry the 1 minus the 2. 22 years, maybe?
now into
Wow.
year 22.
Nice.
And then I changed stations. And I'd never crossed the street before. Jim, I don't know if you've ever crossed the street.
Yes, I did. I did in Philadelphia.
But it's something.
I left Y100 doing late nights to go do middays at Max 95.7.
Yeah.
Well, I crossed the street from one record label to another, and that was quite chaotic. Yeah. It'll be in the book, but yeah, it's not always pleasurable.
No.
Well, at that point, Town Square had not far into my time there at CHR, Town Square had bought it. And the thing about the Hawks signal was not great. Press Communications signs on 107.1 The Boss. Classic rock
Good
station.
name.
Right. With full coverage in Asbury Park and all the places where I felt the show really needed to be heard in. So they came after me and I said yes and crossed the street. Yeah. And I've been there 5.5 years now.
Nice.
I think with
the name of The Boss, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I came to hang out at one of your shows when you were still over in Tom's River there for Millennium, or it wasn't Millennium, it's Town Square at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful facility.
The old market manager used to live across the street from me, Dennis.
Right.
So, who, by the way, I don't think I ever told you this, TC. Last year, I went back to my old neighborhood, saw some neighbors, and Dennis was, I don't know where he was working at the time, but he was on a business trip in Atlanta, and he was in the back of an Uber that got caught in between two cars that were like in a gang war, shooting. He got hit 5 times.
Wow.
Poor man was hit 5 times, and if it wasn't for the driver of his Uber not being injured and getting him to the hospital, he wouldn't have survived. I heard the whole story. I was like, it was unbelievable. Wow. And he then, since he now works think he works for Monsignor Donovan High School now in Toms
Right.
River, and he completely got out of what he was doing. But talk about crazy scary. So anyway, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
we both know the same guy. So
Yeah. So, and I go there I like 1,096 shows now. I've only missed one. Um, I've voice tracked it maybe 8 or 9 times, maybe. And I do it live every week, and it's the greatest 2 hours that you could imagine.
But we
and
have to
sometimes
back
he's
up.
on the boardwalk. He's actually out, on the boardwalk
Right.
at Bar A or something.
But how'd you get into Bruce? How'd you get interested in him? How did you get so involved that, I could put a show together on him? I like him that much.
Well, I was a P1 plus of WMMR when I
Mhm.
was a kid. Just a massively great radio station,
Sure.
and
Still
they
is.
were still is. I mean, still is. They were the first station to really play Bruce, and that was my station. Greetings from Asbury Park came out January 1973, and he was a guy who not only was from New Jersey, but he embraced it,
Right.
which no one did in the early 70s. Jersey was the butt of like Tonight Show jokes. There were
Right.
Jersey jokes, and it was easy to make these Jersey jokes. But this guy embraced it, and there's the Asbury Park postcard on the cover of the first record, and I just loved it immediately, and loved his Jerseyness, and I was in with both feet.
So who are some of your favorites, since we're talking MMR jocks? Who are some of your favorites?
Well, that's a very long list. Ed Shockey, of course,
Yeah.
was a guy who really championed Bruce. David Dye, who I've gotten to become very friendly with over the years. I did a thing in Princeton University with David after he retired from World Cafe. We did a Springsteen thing because they had an exhibit and they wanted to tie something in. So I interviewed David in this really cool building at Princeton. And in a couple of years ago, for the 50th anniversary of Greetings from Asbury Park, at the Monmouth University at the Springsteen Archives, they did this really great symposium, and I had David on a couple panels. So, I just always love listening to him. Michael Tierson was a big
Another
deal.
good guy.
Another great jock. Mark Goodman, before he hit New York,
There you go.
Goodman did nights at MMR.
He did.
Carol
Carol
Miller
Miller was there.
did overnight at MMR. And I just loved, those were the people that made me fall in love with the idea of maybe I can do this.
Yeah. So what would you say would be your favorite, not collection or best of, what's your favorite Bruce album of all time?
Well, it's got to be Born to Run. It just has to be. Bruce's most iconic song is on there, of course, Born to Run. And his best song is the first song on that record, Thunder Road.
Can't
and
agree more.
There's only what, 7 songs in that album, 8 songs in that album, and man, it's good.
I'm sure you watched or heard the interview he did with Howard Stern a couple of years ago during the pandemic, and talking about writing most of those songs on that old keyboard his aunt gave him, and he doesn't even remember exactly how to play some of them anymore that way. Yeah, I mean, it's been so long and since he did it, so he kind of forgets these things.
The thing he did with Howard a couple months ago, 4 months, that was
awesome
maybe
too.
the greatest thing ever.
So has he ever acknowledged your knowledge and your talent and your, I don't want to say fanship, but I would say your loyalty, and how you continue to spread his music, believe it or not?
He was on a panel that I moderated.
I saw a picture of that, yeah.
In October 2 years ago for the 50th anniversary of the Wild Innocent E Street Shuffle. and he loved it and couldn't have been more kind or generous after the thing. So yeah,
Nice.
and I saw him. He played at Light of Day, this big Light of Day concert here a couple of weeks ago, and we were out there introducing Jesse Malin, which was a remarkable story in and of itself. You know, the guy suffered a spinal stroke and is back from this spinal stroke. And Bruce was going to guest with him. He guested with Willie Nile and then played a bunch with Joe Grishecki and the House Rockers that night. We get done the Jesse Malin introduction, and I'm very focused, walking off the stage like I got to get out of the way, and I look up and there's Bruce standing right there. Just the chuckle and the smile, and I was like, oh man. So yeah,
We all know an
Nice.
outlet that Tom should, probably be doing his Bruce tributes and love to all the time, but that never worked out for him, sadly.
yeah.
But what are
No
you
comment.
gonna do?
No comment.
So do you have a cameo in the new movie?
No. Who could look like a 1982 version of Tom T.C. Cunningham? No
You
one.
never know. They can do a lot with that stuff these days.
No, look, I'm so happy to be part of the staff at 107 The Boss. Great local.
Robbie Bridges is a good guy.
Yeah,
You're right. But I knew him through Tom all those years. So I'm Cuddy and him are tight.
and committed. I mean, we have weekend jocks like on all the day parts except overnights. So I mean, it's fully staffed. There's always stuff going on and cool promotions. So I really love being part of that team and that staff. So that's where I'm happy to hang my hat.
Well,
That's a rarity these days, especially in any station. Having
Yes.
weekends
or having
full
live
staff.
people, period. Having
Yeah.
a live person, period, is a big
That's
thing.
True.
In
That
fact,
is true.
what I was going to say about you said you had your college course in radio. I recently read that a lot of those radio courses, they've kept the microphones and now they're just teaching people that want to go into this to ask if you want fries with that. And that seems to be the career path of folks that really want to go into broadcasting these days.
We need a snare drum to do a little
There you
rim
go.
shot.
We're big in North Korea. Oh, no, is it South Korea? It's South Korea.
Two guys and a mic. It's Jim. It's Tom Cunningham is our special guest.
TC.
Mark is here. TC, and we are talking Tom's legendary career. By the way, you can find this podcast on a lot of spots now. We're not just on YouTube.
We're big.
That's our home base, so to speak. But now we're on Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcast, Amazon. Just search Two Guys with the Number Two. Like, subscribe. It costs you nothing to do so, and it lets us help convince more guests to come on and be here, and then ring that notification bell so you get the new episodes when they come up. All right, I know I threw this, guys, at you pretty last minute. So if you don't have five, that's fine, but let's at least try and do three. Tom, you want to give us your all-time favorite rock songs?
Well, number one has to be like a Rolling Stone. I mean, it immediately has to be that. Number two has to be Born to Run.
Yep.
Number 2A has to be Thunder Road.
He took two of my three right there.
Number three has to be U2, something from the Joshua Tree album, probably Where the Streets Have No Name. I would say David Bowie, like something from Ziggy Stardust for sure. And five could be anything from Jason Isbell to Led Zeppelin to the Allman Brothers Band to everybody and anybody. So there.
Well, I knew you were going to do a lot of Bruce. All right, Mark, what do you got?
Well, you know, my roots are not rock oriented. It's more, Brady Bunch live and stuff like that. But obviously, my tastes in college were Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, Mellencamp, and Jackson Brown and stuff like that. Styx, I liked a lot. But I was never a Led Zeppelin fan, so I'd have to take that off my list. I don't even know what Led Zeppelin means. I don't really care. Pink Floyd, I think you guys were fans of Pink Floyd.
I
Not
am.
big for me. But I mean, I did like Fleetwood Mac. I mean, Rock, I would have to do Bruce. I mean, my buddy worked in a record store, and I remember we were working at a movie theater 2 doors down from the record store. And I used to go in there and he'd say, "Oh, I got something new for you." And he was my first introduction to Bruce Springsteen. And then after that, he turned me on to Steve Forbert. Remember Steve Forbert there,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. TC? He played Queens
Just
College.
on my show.
Yep,
He was
I think
just-
I saw that. I saw him at Queens College. It was one of the first
Romeo's
few, yeah, it was one of the first few rock concerts, as they said, at Queens College. But I was a fan of his as well. But you know, I'm sure, Jim, you can go into a lot more deeper rock than me. But that seems to be my tapioca, mediocre tastes.
It was hard for me to do 5, and I stayed away from Bruce, even though I'm a massive fan of Thunder Road, because I knew Tom would have a bunch of those songs. But I put Rolling Stone's "Sympathy for the Devil" on my list. Pink Floyd, it was tied. Brain Damage, Eclipse, or Time. Love both of those records. But you know me as being a Genesis fanatic. And so I got Land of Confusion from Genesis and Salisbury Hill from Peter Gabriel. Sure. And then the other one, just because the drums are so massive and he was so talented, and it's not often that you find a drummer who also writes all the lyrics, Spirit of Radio by Rush. So there you go. There's the top 5. But I could include everyone that you guys mentioned. Definitely deserves to be there. I would say "Immigrant Song" from Led Zeppelin is one of the best rock songs ever. You know, there's so many out there. It's very hard to nail down, but yeah, that's why, you know, we ask the question. It's a personal thing. People can comment on this episode and let us know their favorite rock songs. So Mark, the other day we were talking, and I think Tom will find this interesting. What happened to you again?
Well, I have a lot of stories. We could go on and on, but for Christmas.
Oh yeah, here we go. Ready, Christmas, Tom? This is gonna make you laugh.
This is a good one. For Christmas, I thought, because I've been reading about this, Howard Stern talks about this. I've never experienced a bidet in my life, so I got a bidet on Amazon. It's like you got to make decisions on what you want this thing to do. Anyway, I'm looking through the instructions. There's no way I'm going to be able to install this thing. So I got a guy. He installed it. It comes with a remote control. So first of all, if you go to the bathroom, I got to bring my glasses now because I got to read the instructions for all the things this thing does. You could control the temperature of the seat, the temperature of the water, the pressure of the water. I'm pressing the wrong button. I could be ejected right out the bathroom window. But it's quite an experience. I don't know if you've experienced warm water shooting through your private parts, but it's something that, you know, you kind of fall in love. But that's my experience with a bidet, and I don't know if you experienced it, but I could see why people say it could change your life.
I never had until I went to Thailand. When I went to Thailand last November,
apparently it's like around the world. It's big it's big in Korea. Did I mention that? Tom, have you ever experienced a bidet?
Have not.
Well, put that on your list.
Tom's like, can this discussion end any quicker?
It's something. Who knew?
So how does Marianne like it?
Apparently it's a female thing. It's very popular with females. I mean, I don't sit as much as a female does to do their business, but
right.
You know, apparently you get a clean feeling is all I'm told. So there you go.
They are quite popular. They're getting more popular here.
Maybe on a future broadcast, I'll bring the remote and you'll see how difficult. I think I can get cable in there with this thing.
But it's probably a good thing you didn't install it then.
No, I would have flooded out the house.
Yeah. Can't be leaking.
Can you get Mets games on that thing?
Right.
Hey, Mr. Philadelphia, before you go, are you putting the old house, ranch, everything else on the Eagles or what?
Well, of course we're.
By the way, this will air. This will be live after the Super Bowl, which is Sunday. But yes,
go ahead. Yeah, of course. Super excited, obviously, to beat Kansas City. You got to beat them. You can't monkey around, let them hang around, because you do that, then you will lose. So
what about Barkley, though? In fact, if the Eagles win, everyone on the Giants gets a Super Bowl ring, right? For letting Barkley go, is that it?
Oh, God, what a mistake!
He's incredible.
I think And now, as of yesterday, someone told me that the line had Philly by like a point or a point and a
Yeah,
half.
it's a point. In fact, I checked it this morning,
Jeez.
and there's a prop bet that you can bet. Let's say you put $100 down that Barkley scores one touchdown, and if you parlay it with the fact he scores more than one touchdown, for $100 you get $900.
Huh?
Wow.
That's not a bad bet if you think
I
about
didn't.
it.
I thought it
He
would be
may
less
score
than
twice.
that.
He
I
may
thought it'd be
score
less.
twice.
I thought it'd be less than that because he's probably going to score.
You know,
The score is easy, but what about twice? You think you can score twice for $900?
I don't know. It's tough when you go against. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo, who's the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, is very good, and Andy Reid.
He's good.
Anybody that's on Philadelphia staff, I think, is a descendant somehow of the Andy Reid coaching system. So,
And he used to coach Philadelphia too,
Of
right?
course.
Andy Reid was up there.
Yeah.
So there you go. Wow. I mean, I just hope it's a good game. I mean, it's like when the Patriots were killing everybody year after year after year that you started to say, I really want them to lose. And
They did.
unfortunately, I would always go against the Patriots, and every year they would win. So
But that's
I
not
don't
true.
know.
They lost two of
To
them
the Giants, correct. But I mean, they had a pretty good run year after year after year. But
Nick
I'm
Foles
saying,
beat him.
I'm sorry.
Nick Foles beat him. Super Bowl 52.
There you go. But I don't know. They didn't look that powerful this year. They squeaked by every game.
But they won every one of those games.
That's right. They
So-
played the teams they had to play.
And beat them.
Yeah.
So you got to beat them.
I did
So-
see a stat though that said that the Eagles hadn't lost a game with Jalen as their quarterback. They did lose that one with Kenny Pickett when they played Washington towards the end of the season, but they hadn't lost with Jalen since very early in the season. Like one of the first couple of weeks. Then they ran on a run, and then he got hurt, and but we've had that discussion, Mark. When you're in the same division as a team and you play twice a year, there's no surprises between those teams. So them losing one of their games to the Washington Commanders during the regular season is not a shock. It's more of a shock if they had, let's say they had played, I don't know, Arizona, or they had played, somebody else that they barely see, and they would get get beat. So.
It was okay for them to lose that game. They had won 10 in a row
Right.
going into the game. For them to win the Super Bowl, they would have had to win like 16 or 17 games in a row. That is brutally tough to do.
Patriots
So-
couldn't even do it.
No.
Patriots got to 18-0 and then lost in the Super Bowl.
Eli.
Wow.
So
I just hope it's a good
think
game. It's exciting, and everybody has a good time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you hope for, is a good competitive game. The last time these two teams played, it ended up 38-35. So, I mean, it went right down to the end.
Yep.
But as Tom was saying at the beginning, it's tough to leave any time on the clock with somebody like Mahomes. He's like Brady. He was able to, he can. I would trust him in that last minute situation more than Jalen Hurts. And it's nothing against Jalen. It's just Mahomes has done it over and over and over again. Jalen's got probably more weapons than Mahomes has. So, it all's going to come down to what gets executed. Bill Belichick was just crossing himself. Bill Belichick did something on the NFL Network, I guess it was yesterday, and he was like, Andy Reid is a massive tactician, that he designs these plays that are damn near impossible to stop. If they're executed, a defense has a very tough time stopping that. But it's all a question of execution. So,
In fact, one of the prop bets at the Hard Rock was under and over how many of the athletes' houses will get robbed during the Super Bowl. So I bet under 3. I thought that was a fair bet.
that's a little crazy. Let's turn to baseball, though, because I think TC's Phillies are going to have a tough time when they go to Citi Field this year, now that they re-signed Alonso and they got Soto and Lindor.
How about them Yankee fans, huh?
best starting pitching staff in the National League, Philadelphia Phillies.
I'll go with the Dodgers, please. The Dodgers are the best in baseball.
No.
No, you don't think so, huh?
Who
I
did
think
Phil-
we
did
gave you
Philly-
some of that pitching staff. Weren't they ex-Mets? That one guy, what's his name?
I forget.
Yeah, I forget too, since he left
I
town.
forget where Zach Wheeler played.
Who else do they have besides Wheeler?
Aaron Nola.
Okay.
Christopher Sanchez had a heck of a season last year. Ranger Suarez. And two guys they signed coming in.
Mark, you live near where they go train. Go check them out in the next couple of weeks. They're coming back. They open up next week, I think.
Well, I mean, he's right. Philly is good. I mean, I won't take that away from him. And the Mets don't have starting pitching. And they can yap all they want about Soto, and here I am bragging about him, but you got to have pitching, man. When the Mets were great, the starting pitching staffs they had with Kuzman and Seaver and all those guys, and even in '86. But it scares me because I don't know if Senga, is that his name? Senga?
We'll have to see if he has a bounce back season or not.
And I don't know. I mean, they signed the
Braves
other guy.
The Braves are the Braves, so the NL East is going to be insanity. So.
But I'm still telling you that the Dodgers won everything. I saw the script. It's all worked out.
We will have a lot to interact back and forth with between now and October.
Mark's a big believer in these scripts being written and that everything's the fix is in. I don't know why
the fix is in on Kansas City. But
I don't know why he still places bets that go opposite of what he reads the fix being.
Because I got to get my head examined, okay? I mean, I believe that the Chiefs do get a lot of calls their way, but they said that about Patriots when they had the Tuck rule and all of that.
I'll tell you
the NFL likes them. I mean, I think they're going to get the ratings they want. All they have to do is show Taylor Swift 3 times in the box, and they'll get all the ratings they want. It'd be nice to see Philly win.
All right, I'll tell you one rule I don't like that they need to stop is the quarterback, right? Because you can barely touch them. When they're running and they start to run out of bounds.
And then he fakes it?
No. And he purposely slows down to get a few more yards because he knows that if he gets hit, they're going to throw a flag. Mm-hmm. If he's in bounds, if he has 1 foot in bounds, you should be able to clean his clock. He's now a runner. He's not a quarterback. You should be able to kill him because the defensive guys can't use their hand, put their hands in the face, even in the face of an offensive player. But Saquon Barkley can run down the field and slam his fist right into somebody's face, and that's okay. So if the quarterback is in the field of play, out of the pocket, I understand in the pocket, but he's running the ball, well, then he's a runner like anybody else, and if he gets hit, he gets hit. So that's the way the game goes. If he's out of bounds, yes, but he's got to be really out of bounds because everybody slows it down, and there's 1 foot out of bounds and 1 foot in the air, and they're like, "Oh, you got to throw a flag." You know how fast these guys are moving? You can't stop. The other thing is they're going to change the sliding rule. Like these guys slide really late. If they slide super late, like when they're almost in front of somebody, right in front of somebody, they're going to stop calling if they get hit because they're trying to get hit to get the extra 15 yards. If they slide and then they get hit, like a guy takes 2 steps and hits them, yeah. But if you run right up to somebody and then all of a sudden last second slide, how do you expect the defensive player to stop himself? It's not like he's, So they got to adjust some of those rules.
So Tom, Super Bowl performances. Lamar Kendrick, Bruce Springsteen. Which way are we going here?
I'm going Prince. Prince.
Prince had a great one.
Prince was good.
Prince was amazing in that weather.
Yeah.
Bruce did it. What year did Bruce do the Super Bowl?
Ask
2009.
2009.
See? He knew that. I didn't know.
I predict, you got this prop bet, Mark? There'll be more toilet flushing than watching eyeballs on Kendrick Lamar?
But if you have a bidet, you don't really have to flush much. Just remember that. It always goes back to the bidet.
2 guys and a mic. Our guest has been Tom Cunningham. Thank you, sir, for being here. The episode should post on Monday. Please like, subscribe, and find us everywhere, even other than YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, Apple, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcast.
Everywhere.
It's there now. 2 guys and a mic with the number 2.
We're actually going to have a blimp at the Super Bowl with our thing around it. 2 guys in the mic. 2 guys.
Where'd you get up with the money for that?
Doesn't matter.
That thing you do.
That thing you do.
Yeah.
Tom.
So before you get out of here, I want to thank both of you guys. You both have given me some of the greatest laughs and fun and just stuff over the course of my career. And it's been great to have you guys as allies and friends for a long, long time. So
yeah. Next time I come to Jersey, Tom, we'll have to take Joe Riccatelli fishing again. Ask him that story.
Yeah.
He got sick from what I
Oh
remember.
my God. Joe came on the poor man. There's nothing worse than seasickness. We
I
hadn't
got
even
sick on a boat
barely
like that once
left,
too. Horrible.
barely left the dock. We were maybe 50 yards away from the dock and he started getting queasy. And like half hour later, he was underneath, which is probably the worst place you can go, just laying
Oh
down.
no.
And the boat's not going back because it's a chartered boat. So that's the worst thing in the world. Finally, we get back and the dock is a floating dock. So he couldn't even wait for us to get off the boat. He got off the dock. He goes, guys, I got to get off this. He had it. It was bad. It was
Oof.
really bad.
Not
So,
fun.
but there's nothing worse than that seasickness.
And Tom,
So
we
it's
do
still,
send you our love and everything else
yes.
for everything that's going on in your personal life as well. So God bless you, buddy boy.
Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks.
Two guys and a mic. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again with a new episode next week.